Okay. Is this working? Hey, starting a bit later than expected, but it looks like we're all working. Okay. Right. Stream total. Stream info. Total. Okay. It's testing if this is seeing things. Perfect. Okay, so first thing we need in our scene is, of course, some sort of something to hit. So I'm just going to go super basic. I use the background sprite, color wide. Background sprite is apparently extremely tiny, but we can deal with it. Sliced. Really, all we need is this nice white button. Okay. Floor, platform. Works all better. Good. So for this, all we need is a platform and a floor. Give them both a box collider 2D. Set up our box slider so that it actually covers the entirety. Okay. So now we just need someone to jump with. So let's see what I got in my packages. Yeah, not 100% sure if I prefer the package manager over the asset store. Especially when it takes forever and a day. Okay, so let's go with our good old friend, a circle. Great. New sprite, we're going to call it player. We're going to set it to a knob, because of course. Also make it sliced. Let's set it to 1 and 1. So we need to know when we can jump and when we can't jump. So we need a circle collider 2D. I'll actually make it 4, 5. And we need a rigid body 2D so that we can set up all of our fun stuff here. So if we hit play, we should drop and land on the floor. Perfect. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to create a new layer. Create the floor layer. Or anything layered floor is something we're going to be able to jump off of with our basic jump. So make sure this is up. Okay, so our player. So now we're going to add our 2D motion script. Let's go with a motion 2D script. Okay, let's again start with a number. Okay. Make sure this is did not save my positioning. Of course it didn't. Okay. So with our motion 2D, right now just going to work with the basic input system, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to expose a public event action on jump. And we're going to have our motion 2D handle side to side motion, but not necessarily our jump. And what this allows to do is actually add a secondary script that connects with our motion 2D and allows different jump mechanics depending on what we want to actually do. So we're going to just do if input dot is input dot get key code A. Do our basic, translate sets. Negative right. I should probably set that to vector 3 dot right, which might actually be dot left. Right, I'm actually going to multiply both those by time dot delta time. And this way our time is capped, and we're going to add some configuration. Serialize field. And of course, well, since this is serialized, we'll be able to edit it in real time. Now, we're going to go if put dot get key eco dot space. The space is going to be our jump, so we're going to go on jump invoke. And the question mark here, of course, is our null coalescent, so if on jump is not set to anything, it'll just ignore that line. So I'm not spending a ton of time on our basic motion because the purpose of this stream is, of course, to jump, but it should give us a little bit of back and forth. And it's most definitely not. So why are we not? Run speed too low. No? Are we just not seeing our it says we're going left, but it's not actually going left, so something is up. Because translate returns a new transform. Let's try this. Yeah, but we can't actually set transform. So we're just going to go back to the old-fashioned position equals transform.position plus equals. Debug. And watch as the new Unity chugs along. Still not getting anything, eh? It's like it's not even trying. Oh, this is right. Our delta time is correct, and our run speed is most definitely that is something to do with our rigid body here. Freeze rotation on the Z. Save, use automax. Sure, why not? Gravity scale, collision detection, just continuous, started interpolate. Sphere collider's not having any issues, is it? Not that I can see. So why is motion just not working? It's always fun when you have to debug even the most basic elements. Update is most definitely being called. Already checked, I'm getting my key. One thing I can think is if this is coming up, so let's left. Log our left vector. Oh, that is a tiny upon tiny left vector. But should still be setting our position, which it does not seem to be doing. Well, it is working, it's just working extremely slow. No way I should have to set my run speed this high to... No, Y type's dynamic. Yeah, so even without that, I am just not moving. My numbers are getting huge, but they're not applying. Well, that's perplexing. Sprite render. Isn't using a sliced sprite. Let's give this a try. If it is, that is pretty unique in my book. Oh. This is going to be the most unique jump element if I can never actually get my code working to even just do basic movement. Let's see, both sides. I was wondering if both key inputs are again considered to be down. Should be odd. Oh, my lovely moment when you just see the problem stare you in the face. It's trying to go both ways at the same time. I'm gonna go back to my original code now. Yep, that is entirely what did it. Oh, good job wasting 24 minutes. Okay, so now we have basic movement. We can even give ourselves a little bit of annulments. Go float current speed 0. Okay, now to do both of these by current speed and this by right. And then move this out here. Get up this guy. What we're going to do is set current speed equal to ff dot lerp current speed run speed delta time. Let's go 3. We can turn this into our velocity change. And this is negative run speed. And this will be positive run speed. So what this will do is it'll give us a slowly ramping speed, kind of reminiscent of most platformers you play with. And what we do is hit up a couple of else's so that when you let go, it slowly drags down to 0. That also gives you a little bit of a stop time. Now, you can always increase your stop time. Change times 3. That way you always stop faster than you turn around. Which gives you a little bit of that feeling that you have control of when you stop while still having that heavy feel of momentum. This will also allow us to have a little bit of extra precision when we're trying to make our landings by not instantly jerking us one way or the other when we're in the middle of the air. So with that done, let's add a basic jump. Basic jump script, we're actually going to acquire component motion 2D. Okay, so this requires that we have a motion 2D. So I'm header components serialized field private motion 2D motion 2D. If motion 2D equals null, motion 2D equals get component motion 2D. Now on update, we're actually not going to do anything. So our basic jump, all it does is it jumps. So motion 2D dot on jump plus equals jump. On jump. And the private void on jump. We said that on jump, the event was a action, which is just a void with no parameters. And we're just going to quickly this, we can call this configuration, give us a jump height. And what's our initial jump height? Also to 5, just for consistency's sake. So when we hit the jump button, what we're going to do is get our rigid bodies. Rigid body 2D. And we just add new so that we can use our rigid body 2D instead of the computed property rigid body 2D, because I would much rather store this than rely on it pulling it over. So now we add our rigid body 2D dot add force, and we go vector 2 dot up, and force mode 2D, and then we're going to go with force. So our basic jump so far, all it does is it jumps. No need for any weirdness. Okay, so player. When we hit play, we should see these fill up. But we have a problem. I can just hold my spacebar and up I go. Not getting, I just tap it, we're not getting really a good force oomph. That's probably what, because I forgot to actually multiply by our jump height. Let's give that a try. I should get turn off maximize on play so I can test while still seeing all my variables. Okay. So with our basic, all we do is jump, but we need to make it so that we don't jump forever. So we're going to add a new field. That is grounded. It's true. So now we need a way to determine if we're grounded. Easiest way I've found in 2D to actually get that done is to add empty, call this grounded trigger. We add a circle collider, set it to 0.01. Don't need this big at all. Just need this to detect if we're grounded. And actually, should use a box collider just so that we can affect its sides in multiple different orientations. So 0.1, 0.01, 3. We're going to set this to be trigger, and we're going to set our offset to -1. That's pretty good. So if that is touching something, we're going to say that we're grounded, but remember how we added our platform and our floor to the floor layer. So what we can do then is have it so that when this hits, it checks for what layer it's touching, and then that way we output, or we only say we're able to jump if we're on touching something that we say we're able to jump off. So we're going to add our grounded script. grounded script is gonna have component. Private basic jump. Basic jump. Now, basic jump is going to have void set grounding is grounded, is grounding, then if is grounded, we add our force. Here is we're just going to go on trigger enter 2D. So we're testing against collider, so we can go if collision or collision dot get layer. Interesting. Oh, right, no, I made that as a tag. There's where. Oh, the fun part when I don't remember. Game object dot layer, that's it. It equals mask dot get mask. And since layers are actually flags, what we're actually going to go and greater than 0. So with the end, we of course check if both of these have the same bit set, and if the same bit is set in both of these, that's 0, and this will allow us to create a mask that has more than just one layer. So basic jump, set grounding. Now, a lot of people would think, why don't I just set grounding to whether this is true? But it's possible that we have multiple on trigger enters, so if the floor trigger triggers before any other trigger, we could accidentally set it to false. So we don't want to do anything if we touch something that doesn't affect us. We do the same thing on exit, set to false. So now when our trigger exits a volume, we'll set our grounding to false. When it enters the volume, we'll set our grounding to true. And we just set our basic jump. Okay. So now when we check our player and basic jump, it says we're grounded. And it's still saying we're grounded. Here's my grounded trigger. This trigger. My floor is set to layer floor. Layer to name. So, why did that occur? Why is our mask turning 256? Right, because I need to actually use name to layer and use a double equals, because layer masks are only used when trying to do physics collision. How could I ever possibly forget that tiny detail? Okay. Perfect. So now I no longer jump. I do get a little bit of extra jump if I time it just right, so that we just move our grounded trigger up a tiny bit. I just wanted to just be that tiny extra little bit there. Nope. Why are we suddenly... Ah. So our grounded trigger is too far up. It's not actually encountering our floor. There we go. So now we can start working with our jump height. The jump height to 9. Not enough. Why not? There we go. And so this gives us a half decent jump. So let's go 60. So it does seem like we are still having some issues with it just popping up. So I'm just gonna add in is grounded equals false. So when we jump, we tell it until we actually enter our field again. That we can't actually jump again. So here, it's not jumping nearly high enough. So let's go back to our 30. Go to 100. So we're at least getting multiple jumps. Still not really enough. No, 1,000 might be a little too much. Let's have it. Still a bit much, so let's have it again. Okay, and get ourselves kind of in the middle of the two. Oh. That's feeling pretty good. It's got kind of a floaty quality to it, which doesn't really help us. So we need to kind of figure out when we're falling and figure out when we're jumping. One of the best ways to make a game feel like it has a good jump mechanic is to actually have you fall faster than it might otherwise seem you should. Now, if we were to just increase gravity, that's going to have a problem of we're not going to jump as high, so we're going to feel too weighty, and it's going to feel like we can't really time anything. So, let's set our jump height back up to 350. And what we're going to do is actually inside of our jump here. We're going to add an update. We're going to go if rigidbody2d dot velocity dot y is less than 0. So pretty much if we're moving downwards. Rigidbody2d dot gravity scale equals 2. This is probably going to be too much. We're going to need to balance it. So we're just going to add a float scale, set that to 2, and set that here. Else v dot gravity scale equals 1. So we set to normal gravity until we start dropping. Let's give that a try. So you should notice that we jump the same height, but we fall that just that extra little bit faster. You'll notice that it's not significant, or at least it's not significant enough to make it feel like you are dropping insanely fast, even though we are actually activating double speed, or double force, I should say. It does give this nice little, yes, you're hitting while still having a little bit of float right at the beginning. So what this should let us do is do some somewhat precision platforming by creating a tiny platform. A couple of tiny platforms that we're going to try and land on. So there we go. Make this look like your sprite that you want with a little bit of animations. You have what feels like a nicely controllable jump. The only thing is you always jump at the same height. In most games, there's always an element of, well, what happens when you let go. So, what we're actually going to do is modify this slightly, and we're going to go or equals 0. So we're actually going to say not equal 0 if get key input dot or key code dot space so we're moving up or down, and we're not holding the space bar. So if we're not holding the space bar, or rigidbody2d dot velocity dot y is less than 0. So this way we now have gravity scale 1 when we're on the ground, and when we're jumping up, so long as we hold the space bar. But once we reach our peak and start going down, our drop scale scales up. And of course, you can modify the input call to any key. So now, see, I instantly have tap and hold. So now with only some minor, and of course, you have to watch out because I am using a circle collider. So with that, we can actually set up a quick little game of the floor is lava. So what we can do is we're going to create so text mesh pro text, just because it looks nicer. So scale this to 5. The reason I use scale instead of lowering the font size is to try and keep the fonts curves as least amount of pixelation as possible. Add a lose. Small caps. Center. And just go turn you off. Just gonna call this lava. And we're gonna set our background color to red just to show that we do in fact have lava as a floor. Then our lava is just gonna have collision enter 2D. If collision dot collider dot okay, actually let's use dot tag equals layer. So, not actually going to do any sort of loose condition. All we're doing is just popping up our little thing showing us that we lost. So, when we hit play, we should land nicely on here. If I touch the red, why do you do this to me, entity? Why? Oh, right. Might help if I actually take my player. Use tag. Bam, you lose. So the question is, if I set this guy back down to 1 like the others, can I make the impossible jump? I actually don't know. I think I can. Yeah. Nope. Circle collider gets me again. So, it's one thing to remember. Careful with circle colliders because they do have that element to them. So, we have our basic jump. It only took us an hour. But what if we wanted to be able to do more than just jump and land? What if we wanted to give our players something like a double jump? Well, we're actually going to need to do some element of number. So let's say our jump number is 2. Okay. So we're going to do that's going to be fine. If is grounded, what we're actually going to do is if is grounded or no, jump number less than jump number, current jump less than jump number. Current jump is going to be here. So jump, it's actually going to be int, so jump number actually going to go if is grounded current jump equals 0. So, and then every time we jump, we go current jump plus plus. So what this should allow us to do is, actually don't even need is grounded anymore. Whenever we hit the ground, our current jump equals 0. After we jump at least once, our grounded becomes false, so that we no longer set our current jump back to 0. We count up. So now we should be able to jump twice. Because of our added jump elements. And we should be able to see down here our jump number increase when we jump. Oh. So you only get one jump per press of the spacebar. You don't just get to moon jump right off the bat. So you'll notice something there. As you hit right at the right time, so let's see what's going on. So our gravity scale is no longer going back down to 0. So what we need to do is inside of our basic jump, we actually need to set our gravity scale back to 1 before we add the force. This way, both of our jumps have a similar arc potential, so you do still have to get over your fall. So, still running into a slight problem of once you're going down, well, that happens. So for that, what we're actually going to do is defy physics a little bit, and we can actually set our velocity equals which by 2d dot velocity times, so velocity is vector 2d, so we're going to move vector 2d 1 0. So this will keep our horizontal velocity, but disable our vertical velocity just before we actually apply our force. So what this should do is act as if we're on stable ground. Now, you might want to scale your force based off your current jump. So, to do the easy scale, we go int jump scale equals jump number minus current jump. So we get how close are we to the end divided by jump number. We need this to float. And we need float on jump number. So what this should do, we'll actually float this top as well. That one's not going to be needed, but that one should. Okay. So what this will do is this will give us a number from 0 to 1. 1 being what happens when our current jump is 0, and then going all the way down to 0 divided by 3 equals 0. So we're just going to add cumulative plus 1 minus current jump. So that way we always get a little bit of something. And our first jump is actually going to scale a little bit. So what we're going to do is ff dot clamp. Not because our second jump won't go down at all. So this number between 0.1f and 1. And we can play around with our minimum and maximum jump scale. 0.2 is probably a better one. Then we just multiply that by our jump scale. So our first jump should max out at 1. Our second jump should drop down, so we'll be at 1 divided by 2, should be at half. Our second jump should be at 0.2. And you could even just do a kind of even scaling by going 1 divided by jump number. So, the more jumps you have, the smaller each jump will be. This is feeling pretty good. Let's try this. So a single long jump, we can kind of get to where it was. This one should need a strategic use of our double jump. No, and that was most definitely not a strategic use. Oh, that's so close. Ah, there we go. Now, one of the nice benefits of using this little box is you'll notice we have a tiny bit of coyote time. Coyote time is that little bit of time you get after you run off an edge that you still get to jump. So for us, our coyote time is actually determined by that square. So even though I'm starting to fall off, I get to still have a jump, because until I'm entirely off the edge, or I guess I get to jump anyway because of our double jump, but we still don't want to just allow them to jump at any time if our jump script is set to only allow one jump. So what we do is we say if not rounding current jump plus plus. So if we have exited, we do this after, so if it is grounded and not grounding, so if we were on the ground and hadn't jumped already and our grounding is false, we increase our current jump. Otherwise we just set is grounding. So that means if we've jumped and have set our is grounded to false. Thanks, Blurcap. Still need to get a little better at noticing these. Okay. Yeah, I really do need to get better to notice this. Okay. Sorry about that. So, this should give us a little bit of coyote time, while still not letting us just jump willy-nilly after walking off the ledge. So, right as I go off the edge. So that little bit of extra time, even though it doesn't look like I should be able to jump there, And if I set my jump number to 2, and I run off an edge, it still only gives me that one in-air jump. So we got one ground jump and one in-air jump, regardless. Okay. And which I should probably do is check here if our velocity is going less than 0. Then we actually remove it. That way, if we jump while on our way up, we get that little bit extra boost. Now this should feel pretty darn good. Oh, right. Try to give myself that extra jump that I was looking for. So we get that extra little bit of height. If we jump at the right time, we can actually get a good amount of extra height, because we're actually allowing our momentum to continue. So sometimes it might not actually be the best idea to wait until after you've started dropping. So now combined with all this other bits, if we want a little bit more coyote time, we just increase this by a little bit. Now, the one thing you want to be careful is you do not want it wider than your actual sides, because otherwise that might let you jump on the side when you probably shouldn't jump on the side. So, 0. That should give us a little more coyote time, which allows us to easily make our jump. Okay, and of course we can set ourselves up. Let's turn you off. Let's give ourselves. Hey, how's it going? For a little while. I'm actually streaming right now. Your voice is coming over Twitch. Oh, that's okay. Although it doesn't seem to be coming up too much. No, I actually was wanting it if anybody's in Discord and wants to hop in. You can also check out the stream at twitch.tv/Friday Night Game Jam. I'm currently working on creating and showing people how to make a really good feeling 2D jump. Along with double jump, better drop speeds, all the fun stuff. So, feel free to check that out. And for those of you listening in at home, that would be Dyslexy, one of the members of our Discord and fellow Friday Night Game Jam. And just answering a quick question. Yeah, well, that's the downside of utilizing both of these. But yeah, so I'll get your opinion. How's this look? So right now we have a player who has a single jump. So when you hold the button, you get a higher jump than when you tap. And you'll notice you actually have a little bit of extra weight on the way down. The way that we're doing that is with gravity scaling. When I touch the floor.
I would still make it even more snappy than that. Like faster up, faster down.
Well, let's see what happens when we drop scale. See, so I made this configurable so I can actually affect how fast. So let's say might be a little too.
A little bit of feedback, like squash and stretch when you jump and.
Oh, of course, but that's more of a graphical element than it is a mechanical element.
Yeah, but it still like makes it feel
Yeah.
like the jump feel different somehow.
Hmm. Oh, undoubtedly, and graphical elements are most definitely a part of a good polish. But like I said, for this as more working on the mechanic aspect entirely, hence why I'm just using squares and circles. I want to make sure that it actually felt good to jump even without those elements. I also have a basic motion set that has lerped motion so that you actually take a second or two to get up to full speed, which allows a little more precision on the release. And each jump has a scaled jump value, so the more jumps you do, the less each one does. So now if I have 5 jumps, so I'm thinking this is actually feeling pretty good at this point. Just for the jump mechanic, I can't really see too much more I'd want to do with it. Like I said, there is the visual aspect, and I should probably add in some slight visual elements. For that, I'd actually create a new graphics script. That way it's completely configurable, because sometimes if you really want someone to look like they're like super solid, you'd want to actually not show any squash when they go down. Make them feel really weighty like they're rock. So what we do is just add in a what we do is we require component type of basic jump. So we require a jump component so that we can then include it in our system. Then of course we go if small, so we go now. Okay. Then we want to go private void landing. And then in here is where we'll do our squash and stretch. We'll do jump. What we're actually going to do then is we're going to require our motion 2D, our basic jump, our motion 2D, do the same with this guy. So now, inside our motion 2D is our on jump. And so we go motion 2D dot on jump plus equals on jump. So this way we're utilizing a nice event system, so we're not having to change our motion 2D to add this ability. And inside our basic jump, we're just going to add an event, public event action on landing. Then what we we do is if we are grounding, grounding, landing, null coalesced invoke. So now our jump, even if we don't have something accessing the landing, we can actually still work. So we now go jump component dot on landing plus equals on landing. So this allows us to build multiple scripts that can utilize the on jump and on landing elements. The other thing we're going to want is our should I actually include it? Yeah. Because that's not where I need it. So we need the ability to know if we're grounded. So we go public is grounded with a capital I. That's going to equal our is grounded as a read-only value. That way we don't have to worry about being set. The other option, I could do an auto property with a private set, but I like the ability to see whether I'm grounded inside the editor, and properties just don't show up in the editor. So on jump, so first we want to check if our jump component is grounded, because if we're in the air, we don't really want to do our stretch as much. And then, so what we're going to do is we're going to do our stretch, because we don't want to just scale up, because that's going to affect our collider a little bit. Or do we? Scaling to 6 and then back to 5. Probably not the worst idea. It's not going to hurt too much, so yeah, why not? Transform the local scale is new. Vector 3, 0. Or, actually, I have the scale up, don't I? Sliced, give me a 5x5, and then I just need to update my 2.3. Just need to update my size, that's not these. So that way we have a nice bigger one, but the scale is still. Wait, why is my scale at 0.2? I swear I set that to 1. I gotta have fun doing this all over again. For doing all this. Okay, cool. How did that happen? Why does it feel like every single time that I mess with this, I get a different value?
Someone new just joined the Discord, by the way.
Oh, awesome. Canopy. Oh, let's hope Canopy joins us in some of our jams. ground trigger. That's a little too much. 6. 5. That's 5. Okay, so that should still give us everything we need for this. Okay, that's good. And our scaling. Okay. So on jump, we do new scale 1, 2, 1, 1.2f, 0. So we don't want to jump up too much. Then what we want to do is we want to slowly move back over time. Well, I'm using the lean tween. As I thought I did. Oh, I don't. So I guess I get to build one myself. Okay. Was equals 1. Set our y scale equal 2. And just going to create it quick. Duration of it float. Squish value. Okay, so scale equals squish value, and we'll just use squish value right here. Then in our update, we'll go if y scale mathf.epsilon absolute y scale greater than float.epsilon, then we need to go y scale equals blurb y scale 0 times delta time multiplied by squish speed. That way we can just quickly iterate over how fast we want our squash and our squish. So now, on landing, all we do is pretty much just do the exact opposite. So, y scale, so we do the same thing here. On landing, we just go in the other way. Now, we could pull in our rigid body, make our squash dependent on how fast we're going down and how much force, and we can make the jump based off how much force we're going up. But for right now, let's just see what this gives us. So, motion 2D, squish value of 1.2, squish speed of 1. What we get is this squashing, and that's just not working. There we go. Whoa. Because that should not be -0.8, that should be 0.8. Ground trigger should not be affected by that. So, easiest way to deal with this is to pretty much rework our entire system. So, what we're going to do is we're actually going to separate our graphics from our motion. So let's player object, player graphics. Move our ground trigger into here, put graphics into here. And then we're just going to move. That's our graphics. We're going to move our circle collider. Copy component. New. New. We're just going to keep moving everything over. Component. New. Then we get to move, move, move. Right. We make sure that a basic jump. So we have your body motion. So let's move our basic jump. There. Grab our jump graphics. Back to our bed. Yes, now we can move that. So now, ground trigger is not going to be dependent on player graphics. So, okay. Just to double check that everything is currently working. Right, because our basic jump has been lost. And we set this to 1 minus switch value. Switch value is switch value, and then plus increased Y scale minus Y scale. And we can just put that there, and we're removing one element. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Minus 0.2. Because it dropped it. Plus 1 is greater than. Okay, so our Y scales can become 1.2 or negative 1.2. So just want to check if Y scale minus 1 is greater than epsilon. No, we need to check in both directions. So absolute Y scale minus 1. So if it's greater or less than, we should get some value. And we want our Y scale to be moving towards 1. And let's see how this guy goes. What the heck? Okay, let's actually move our Y scale up to a serialized field so we can see what the heck our Y scale is doing. Well, why do I get a weird feeling that that again, so as it goes up, yeah. This is why we actually need to add a transform graphics. graphics, the local scale gets modified. Right. The graphics is what we actually toss in here. Save.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the server.
Hi, seems like a great server.
Yeah.
It's like the first server where I see people in the actual voice channels.
Well, we actually have a good number of people that show up here every so often.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So what brought you to Friday Night Game Jam?
Well, I was just looking for a game jam, and I didn't have too much time.
So the 3 hour element is kind of nice. Yeah. It's part of why we made it. We most of the people here just came off of one of the 48-hour jams.
Yeah, it's just 48 hours just takes too long, you know? Too stressful.
I think I was
3
going.
hours.
Yeah, it actually does end up being a lot more stressful, but
For a shorter amount
it's
of
a
time.
shorter amount of time. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I can handle 3 hours of stress, but like 48 hours with little sleep, that just gets, you become
yeah.
inefficient.
Well, and that's actually I'm currently streaming on Twitch. It's a couple of things. Yeah, so every Friday I stream my actual 3 hour Friday Night Game Jam, but
That's pretty cool.
what I'm starting to do throughout the week is actually showing different mechanics and how those different mechanics work. So right now I'm showing off how to make in 3 hours, which I still got an hour and a half left, making a jump mechanic that feels really good. No, not. So like it doesn't feel twitch.tv/Friday Night Game Jam.
Oh.
I kind of hopped in on that branding element. So we're gonna actually untag you, tag you with players so that this goes. Though if you do jump in, you're gonna want to mute the stream as you are actually going to hear yourself from Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm
welcome to Candid Twitch TV.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's speed this up a
You're doing a
bit.
2D jump with rigid bodies?
Rigid body jump in 2D using a rigid body 2D. And I'm just implementing some squish and stretch so that it gives you a little bit. So,
How do you make it so that it doesn't slide off with rigid bodies?
oh no, it can slide off.
I mean, like when you jump off, for me, the ground is usually like ice for me.
Ah,
When I make something like this, you just make adjust the drag more.
you just drag a bit. I also am not doing sideways motion through the rigid body. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I'm not actually using physics to do my general motion. I just use a couple of quick equations. The rigid body is just for collision purposes as well as the jump. Because that's really the only place I want to use any of the advanced physics calculations.
Mm-hmm.
It also allows me to do things like if I want to have an explosion, I can have it fling the player.
So like, do you just use move position, rigid body dot move position for?
Yeah, so in my motion 2D, I'm setting a speed, and then my current speed lerps between full left, full right, and 0. So what this does is it gives us a little ramp up to our speed. And then I'm just translating by this amount. So position, I can actually, I was having some weird bugs on the getting the motion to work to begin with because I was accidentally had key code A in both of these, which made all the difference in the world. Yeah. And then, yeah. So,
Thanks for the explanation.
No problem. Yeah, so I can actually change my velocity change. So let's say I set my velocity change to 1. Then I can actually, now it takes time to get up to speed, but I will eventually get up to my run speed. But I can set my run speed to say 15, and you'll see I actually get to a higher speed, but it's still, and let's say I set my velocity change to 5, I get up to that speed and I slow down from that speed a lot faster. And you'll always slow down a little bit faster than you speed up and whatnot, just kind of representing the whole like slam your foot down, stop, as well as it gives you a really good feeling that you're in control of when you stop. It also allows you to do things like, okay, jump up and then move over just the amount that I need to move over. Whereas if you have a without a lerp or a slow motion change, you'll find when you're in the air trying to land on something, you'll just jerk left or jerk right and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
So having your velocity change over time, even if it is a small amount of change over a small amount of time, can give you a really good feeling. Same with the jump. So my jump is actually, you'll notice I fall faster than I jump. So what's happening there is I'm increasing the gravity on just my player, so long as the you're moving down or you're in the air and you let go of the spacebar. So what this does is gives me two things. One, if I just tap the spacebar, I don't jump as high as if I hold the spacebar, which is pretty standard when it comes to platformers.
Yeah.
And it allows me to find my placement a little easier when I'm trying to precision my jumps, because I have more fall. Like it gives a very weighty feeling. Like I'm sure you've played games where it feels like you kind of float to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of these games, you're actually going in real life motion. You're following a parabolic arc because you're going up and you're falling at the same amount that you went up, because that's how gravity normally works. But in video games, we don't expect that. We actually find that to be disconcerting, and as most people will say, you feel very floaty. Because in real life, when you jump, you don't feel like you're going down at the same speed that you went up. You always feel like you come down harder, and so we simulate that by increasing, and that's why I have my drop scale, so I can set that up. And you'll notice I jump the same height, it's just when I let go, I come slamming down. So you can use that for when you're trying to show off like a heavy character that, you know, whatnot. So he's up and then bam.
Could I see the code for that?
Yeah, sure. I will be making all the code that I do in these available. So in the basic jump, so we start by catching our on jump action. So our motion 2D, I'm eventually going to turn into an input 2D, and then have motion just handle motion, jumping handle jumping. And yeah, so when we jump, we figure out our jump scale, because the other thing I added was the ability to multi-jump. And then when we jump, we set our gravity scale to 1. That way, even if we're in midair, we still get some jump out of it, because otherwise our gravity scale might be so high that our jump force just doesn't give us anything. And then if our velocity is going downwards, we cancel out our downwards velocity. And this way, again, we're not going so far down that our double jump feels like we didn't get anything out of it. And then we add a force equal to our jump height multiplied by jump scale. And then jump scale is just based off how many jumps have we made, so each jump has diminishing returns. And it essentially just means that it'll scale with the number of jumps that I give the person. I don't need to go in and have some sort of table of, oh, you are on this jump, so you get this much jump height. No. and we increase our number of jumps that we've made, and we turn off our grounding so that the game feels like we're in the air.
Yeah.
And then I just have an is grounded script, which sits on the collider underneath the player to determine whether I'm touching a surface that can be jumped off of.
Alright.
Yeah.
You said you'd make this code available, right? On
Yes.
GitHub or something?
Either GitHub or I'll just put it on my Google Drive and drop a link to it inside the Discord.
Okay,
We'll see.
Look when you're done with it then, because I'll go and have breakfast now. It's in the morning here.
But yeah, so
Thanks for the explanation.
yeah.
I'll probably check out your stream in the future too for,
Well, and feel free to follow and everything, because like I said, we're going to be trying to do a little more.
I followed already, yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, we're going to be trying to do a little more stuff with allowing streams and everything, and try to use this Twitch as a push towards a better community.
Makes sense. Pretty laudable goal, just creating a
Thank
community
you.
of game developers.
Yeah.
Alright, well, you have fun with your jumping.
Yeah, so I just need to finish off my stretching and squishing.
Okay, then have fun with the stretching and squishing, and yeah, have a good day.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good one. Okay. So, back to what we were actually working on. So,
3 viewers.
yeah, I can see that. It's just awesome. Hopefully this, like I said, I'm going to try and schedule this and make it a regular thing. Every Monday and Wednesday, I'll work on mechanics that I'll make available. I also might sit down and see if I can learn Godot well enough to kind of try and make both of these scripts. So I'll do like Monday's the Unity script, Wednesday's the Godot version, and then make both of them available for Friday. That's if people want to use it Friday. That's what I work on these. Might not actually even help on Friday at all, but part of the 3-hour game jam was the idea of basic mechanics like this can just be created as a library and imported in as needed to make sure that everybody can get stuff done quickly without needing to kind of rewrite the wheel every time. Because when you only have 3 hours, we want you to not have to worry about reinventing the wheel. Hey Wolf, how's it going? You all ready for Friday yet? Oh, that's good. You find that vote bot that you guys were talking about? Alright. Well, if you, like I said, if you find one, just let me know which one it is. I'll add it in. So we're thinking about changing up the format a little bit for anybody listening who doesn't know, and what we're gonna do is announce 3 different mechanics and let people vote on them secretly, and then whichever one gets voted on is the one that's gonna happen Friday. So it'll give everybody a little bit of early prep time as to what could be, not necessarily what is. How's that sound? How about you, Dyslexia? You like that idea?
I wasn't really listening.
So, so the idea is to have it so that we announce 3 different restrictions, vote, and everybody gets a secret vote on the restrictions, and then Friday it's revealed as to which one got the most votes, and that's the one that we use for the Friday theme. This should let you use the week to actually kind of do a lot of your preparation and just prep for each of the elements that were each of the themes, and then when the theme gets announced, you're kind of ready to go. How does that sound?
I still probably won't ready anything beforehand, if I'm being honest.
Well, it's up to you, of course. Like, I'm not going to force someone to prepare beforehand. Like, I personally was just fine with the whole announce what the restriction type was beforehand and then announce what the actual restriction is on the day. But we'll see. We'll see. It depends on what people want.
I don't think there's really a need for like a poll.
Yeah.
You could just pick one of the themes and then use the other two for the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of the way that we're already doing it. Alright, so... Three, zero, so when you do is when y scale is less than 0, we go down. Y scale is greater than 0, we go up. So y scale minus 1. So at 0.8, we'll go down 0.2, 1.2, 1.2. Let's see if that works. But yeah, no, we're still fairly new, so we're still trying different things out. And we'll see. I think I went down just a little too much, but otherwise that's not feeling too bad. Let's go last one. I only want to move half our scale because our scale is moving in both directions. Did I actually? Oh yeah. Let's see. 3 wing speed. Let's go to 8. So how's this looking, dyslexic?
A lot better.
And then, like I said, if we're doing kind of a heavier feeling character, we up our drop scale to 5. Take our squish value, set it at, instead of 0.5, we'll go to squish value of 0.2. So we squish less and we drop heavier. So it makes it feel like they're kind of a bulkier element. Like the force of the drop isn't affecting them as much, and they're hitting harder when they come down. So I like that. I think that actually works pretty good for our graphics as a basic stretch and squish. And add some. Bam. Heck, oh, I went off the edge. I could even actually see that working fairly well as a boss mechanic. Give a boss multiple jumps and whatnot in this really heavy drop. No, not. So we set our drop scale just way up there, almost no squish value. And we go up, bam. But what we do is we give them, say, 5 jumps. And so what they try to do is use the 5 jumps to get over top of you. When they're over top of you, they come down. Bam. Feels like it'd be an interesting basic way of utilizing a jump mechanic. So, with that, looks like about an hour and 50 minutes. I think I'm kind of done with this script. Think of anything else that makes jumps feel better? Yeah, but again, like I said, graphics are kind of a.
Actually, no, there is something.
Oh,
You could have it. So a lot of games they'll do it where there's a couple pixels after the block that you could still jump.
you mean Coyote Time, which I actually already have.
Oh, you have it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's one of the neat ways of one of the things that occurs by utilizing a grounding trigger like this is that when I'm coming off the edge, even though I'm past the point where I should normally be able to jump, I'm actually still technically connected through the ground trigger. So this naturally gives me a bit of coyote time, and I can affect my coyote time by making this wider, so long as I don't make it wider than the actual trigger, so that, you know, when I'm on my side, I'm not being able to jump because I'm touching a wall. So if I set my element up like that, I can now actually get more coyote time and whatnot, because I now have a slightly longer time that that grounding trigger is actually in there. So I think that's actually pretty much it. All I need now is to find some way to actually convert this script over to all the other uh, engines to try and yeah, convert it to the other engines so we can try and make it so that wow, where's my jump height so high now? Let's go 300. There you go. We got the ultimate jumping guy. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just realized I essentially just created Kirby with heavier drop. You'd even actually be able to do that. Make your drop scale. Oh, that won't work. So yeah, so if you make your drop scale, say 0.3 on jump, you essentially get Kirby. Except for his general jump height would probably be a lot less. Or his jump scaling would not be as high. Then yeah. Let's go back to what feels good. Okay. Alright, well, unless people want to see more, I guess this is it for Unity. So like I said, I will take all the scripts I created in here, toss them in a package, and make it available on the Friday Night Jam Discord, which should be available in the description, or yeah, probably just bring it up here. I created a forever.
I didn't even realize you were streaming.
Yeah, no, I'm actually streaming on Twitch right now. I'm gonna be trying to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like I said, Monday, Wednesday is gonna be more just general programming, getting things together that can be used for jams. Hmm?
Hello, people.
Oh, hey. I didn't even realize that we had a potato lord in here.
Ah, yeah, it definitely did.
Well, welcome to Candid Twitch TV.
Candy Twitch TV, what's up?
I'm streaming on Twitch right now, and I have my audio passing through so everybody can hear you.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just
please don't
realized
say anything that'll get us kicked off Twitch.
for sure.
But yeah, no. So I just finished going through how to create a basic 2D jump script in Unity that feels good, including things like jump scale, multiple jumping, a little bit of squish and stretch. And yeah, I'm about to package it all up and make it available for anybody in the Discord. And then Wednesday, I'm going to download Godot. I'm going to try to do the exact same thing in Godot. Probably going to fail the 3-hour one on that one, even if I defeated the 3-hour mark on this one pretty easily.
As someone who actually converted from Unity to Godot, I felt like the learning curve for Godot was way smoother.
Oh, I wouldn't be
gameplay.
surprised.
Yeah.
No, not. And I have like downloaded it and played around with it. Actually, I think I still have it downloaded. Played around with it a little bit. It's more of just I've never really worked with their scripting system, so and I've heard that you can actually get Godot to run C#, but I'm most definitely not going to cheat by setting my Godot up to run C# and be like, I'm just going to import my C# scripts. No, I'm actually going to do it in the Godot scripting language and try to make this at least a little bit useful for all of the Godot people. And yes, I call it Godot. If you call it Godot, okay.
Call it whatever you want.
Yeah, call it whatever you want. It's a game engine. It's not like the secret of the Harry Potter franchise or something.
I read about this mono support for Godot the other day.
Yeah, so that'd be the C#.
Yeah, and it seems to have some limitations.
I wouldn't be surprised. Since it's not actually inbuilt to the engine and is more using an injection system, a lot of the engine stuff that's accessible to other things would not be as accessible to that. It's actually kind of similar. Apparently, Unreal got a plugin that gives C# support. So,
Really?
yeah, it's called Unreal CLR, I think, for the Common Language Runtime. And yeah, it gives you the ability to use C# to build all your stuff, but it's somewhat limited compared to the C++. Guessing partially because you don't have things like pointers. So you can't do any of the real crazy C++ stuff because you're using C#.
True.
So, okay.
What do you have in here?
In here? Like,
Yeah,
what's here? Oh, so, since we're going to go over this one more time, we have a motion 2D script which handles left and right, and we just do basic lerped motion between a 0 and a speed so that it takes a second or two to get up to full speed, even if like our velocity change at 3 means we'll get up to our speed of 8 pretty quickly. Yeah. We have our jump script, which just gives a basic jump upon the jump event that it looks for inside of the Motion 2D, because Motion 2D is currently handling our input. I guess I could take some time to pull that out and create a input handler. But
are you checking for ground collisions in your jump script, or is it just a double jump thing that you've implemented?
Ground trigger is actually handled by a collision body underneath the player. So this is a standard trigger with a is grounded that tells the jump when we're actually touching ground. This has a benefit of kind of automatically giving us coyote time. No, not because as this goes off the edge, I'll actually technically be in a place where I shouldn't be able to jump, but I'll still be connected. And so long as we don't go beyond the width of our character, we won't suddenly gain the ability to wall jump. Yeah. So, but it wouldn't be hard to add wall jumping with this just by having a grounded trigger also detect walls and give you a ungrounded jump that you can do off the walls. So our basic jump script tries to give us a nice good weighty feel by actually increasing our gravity once you've let go of the spacebar or once you actually start coming down, which is really good for most platformers because it gives you a little bit better idea of when and how you're actually going to land, and gives you that kind of that feeling like you're actually jumping in real life, even if it is really not not realistic if you look at the math. But most definitely does not feel floaty, and with our drop scale we can increase that. So if we actually set our drop scale to 30, bam! Alright, we can jump the same height, but once we're done jumping, we are coming down. So 3 is generally a pretty good feel for most characters, but if you want a character to feel really heavy, you can actually increase it, say, to 8. And you'll see, like, jumps the same height, but comes down heavy.
It's a pretty nice
Yeah.
weighty feel to a jump.
Mm-hmm.
A jump in general, yeah.
Yeah, and then the number of jumps here determines how many jumps you can do between times when you've actually become grounded. So we have 2, or we can set it to 5. And it actually has built-in jump scaling. So each jump actually has equivalently less power. So it feels like you're kind of running out of whatever way that you're explaining why they have multiple jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it also does a check if you go off the ground. It actually counts it as if you jumped, so you don't get any extra jumps for just running off the edge. You still have to nail your coyote time to get that extra little bit of jump. And then the jump graphics script handles our squish. So right now I have squish set to 50%. And all it does is it takes our graphics, squishes the Y, and moves the local Y up and down for half the value of the squish so that it looks like they're still touching the ground. But it doesn't affect any of our colliders, so that, you know, we don't have to worry about if we had our collider being affected by the scale. When we scale down, it would actually jump up, so it would just constantly be scaling up and down a bunch.
I was wondering, how would that affect if you implemented later on ceiling checks?
Like, it wouldn't be too hard to add in an element that actually moves our triggers up and down along with the squish. Our ground one would probably not move at all because the squish is designed to always have the ground level be the ground level. Otherwise, you squish through the ground. But yeah, we could definitely add that it increases our roof check for any of that stuff. Yeah, and then again, if you're trying to make a character look super weighty, you decrease his squish value and whatnot, increase his drop scale, and you'll notice that it looks kind of like he's a lot more of a sturdy character because he's not being squished as he hits the ground as much, and he's coming down real heavy. So I figured you set like jump to 5. You can actually put this on a boss who jumps around until they're over you and tries to drop on you.
It's really fascinating what you could accomplish with simple graphics and a simple squish animation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel most of jam games and like they just overlook this aspect of, I don't know, graphics in
And
general.
I fell off the end because again my floor does not actually go out that far. Probably give myself a little bit of leeway. That might give my collision on this guy equivalent leeway. So let's set my width to 50 and set my collision to 50. That way, when I jump off the edge, I can still come back. But yeah, and one of the neat parts is with this scaling, you can actually give your player more of a floaty feeling. So let's say we actually set our drop scale to 0.8. No, I'm not. You can actually give yourself kind of a moon feeling, or in this case, what we do is we actually set our jump height down to about 150, and we probably actually want to scale that at the time. But what you can do is essentially make a Kirby character by changing our drop scale down during our double jumps. So set the number of jumps, and then have our Kirby character, but when he's on the ground and everything, he has regular scale gravity. So then all you gotta do to really make Kirby is just tie that to the whether he's puffed up or not. So you have your different drop scales based off your sets, and then away you go. So yeah. So that is the first of these mechanic streams.
How many do you plan on like making?
Like I said, Monday, Wednesday. I'm going to be trying to put these together and just each week try to come up with some different one, or even if I think up a like enhancement to this set of scripts, I'll probably put those together, and one week I'll probably show how to incorporate like the last 3 weeks into, and almost try to make a Friday Night Game Jam framework for 2D gameplay. And once those are done, I just move on to 3D gameplay, because 3D jumping is similar to 2D jumping, but definitely has its own nuances.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm into procedural animations these days, and it's pretty cool to mess around with.
Did you see that? There's a Kickstarter that I saw that's really awesome. The guy is doing a fractal-based first-person shooter.
Fractal based. Elaborate, please.
So, let me see if I can find it. Actually, I think I dropped it. Yeah. So here, I'll bring up the YouTube. So, the world is based off of fractals, so you can go deeper and deeper into it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So then they created a first-person shooter where you have to chase people around a fractal level.
Good God.
This.
You know, making a level for such a game is really a pain, because you can't just like put together a level. You have
Yeah.
to come up with some sort of a fractal function.
Yeah. So the game's called Space Flux. Oh no.
Space Flux. Is that Unreal?
We're the developer of Space
I
Flux,
believe so.
in
Yes.
a variety of impossible spaces, including infinite levels that loop on forever, and a reflection game mode, where the world is mirrored and players simultaneously control their character along with their reflected double.
Interesting.
But today we're taking a look at
So he just started a Kickstarter for it. Oh, not, and it's just like, can you imagine deathmatch in fractal space? Yeah. So he actually shot player 2 in the larger space. So you can see player 2 is actually in 3 different spaces, 4 or 5.
they're not scaling, are they? They are scaling.
Yeah, they are scaling.
Are they scaling or is the world scaling?
Uh, I believe they take on the scale of the world, the part of the world they're in. So as you go
Oh,
closer to the center of this map, you get smaller, but there's also a bigger version of you in the larger parts of the map.
well, thing is, if you wear the if you wear the thing that like gets smaller and smaller, bigger and bigger, if you wear the thing that's being scaled, then that would affect collision stuff later
Yeah,
on. The smaller you get, because
yeah. My
for
guess is
destroying
it's
imperfections.
doing non-Euclidean portals. So as you pass through the area, you're moving. It's kind of rescaling you to one with the current area, and kind of keeping that as your primary area, and then showing you these non-Euclidean scales in both sides and whatnot, and then your bullets scale up and down as necessary.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because especially since most bullets you don't really need collision volumes because you can just approximate utilizing um, different elements like actual positional space sets and a lot of sweep movement. You don't really need to worry too much about perfect collision.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Plus, I think.
The only thing that I'm finding kind of odd is I'm seeing multiple of player 2, not seeing another player 1.
Oh,
Like you'd think as you were walking, you'd see yourself in front of you in the newer fractals. I wonder if that's just too hard, or they didn't get around to that yet. But just something to think about.
it might be. Yeah, it might be a bit nauseating.
Oh yeah, and mirror mode deathmatch. So apparently you're controlling both sides at once because the map is mirrored. So there's a guy on your side, a guy on and a mirror of him on the other side. You can shoot at either mirror.
Good God. Oh,
I like how they have the glue gun.
oh,
Oh, that one had himself. And then they have Destructible World to make it even more interesting.
oh, it's all voxels. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Which actually makes sense because voxels would allow for the non-Euclidean scaling a lot easier than polygons would.
Definitely.
Because essentially all it does is just set what each voxel scale is.
True.
So, yeah, so that's the weird thing I found yesterday. So, yeah. I also like how not only did he go with this like non-Euclidean fractal space, but he also went with like let's just make nightmare fuel. Like weird baby faces with glowing eyes everywhere, and like yeah, because that's what I needed. I needed to close my eyes and see that all the time. So it's interesting. I think I'll try to see if I can find the guy's Kickstarter, or I might just pick it up on Steam when it's done. Oh, it's in early access. Okay. Oh, because I'm not signed in on my web browser, but feels like it'd be neat to play in. Not gonna lie, it would be an interesting game to play. I think I would suck at it, but it'd be an interesting game to play. So, have fun with that knowledge.
Plan to leave.
Oh, yeah, I should probably check that. It's at the end of September.
Yeah.
Friday Night Game Jam devlog is up.
Oh,
Yeah,
you put together a devlog, did you?
yeah,
Awesome. You just toss on YouTube or something?
yeah.
Send me the link. I'll put a shout out on Twitter.
It's in the Game Jam
Oh,
Discord.
okay, that works. Good. Dungeon Defense. Wait a minute. I just need to check something. Oh no. You wouldn't know who Azusa is, would you? On Itch? There's someone on Itch that goes by the handle Azusa. They won the best in Polish with Hack'em Slash'em, but I don't know if they're on our Discord, and they haven't responded. So if I can figure it out who they are, I'll update the Amazing Spectacular Friday Night Game Jam Hall of Fame. Otherwise, oh well. Oh, and Wolf, did you see that we already have 18 people for Friday?
Oh no, I haven't checked it.
Here, let me pull up the itch.io jam for next week. Oh, 19 now. Awesome. Yeah, so we have 19 people for the next Friday Night Game Jam, week 36. And for those who want to know, this is our second Friday Night Game Jam. It says it's week 36 because we're basing it off time, not off of number. Just because otherwise we'd be like, ooh, it's the 21st jam in 2021, and it's like our 19th jam, which doesn't make sense at all. So we are numbering them based off the week, to that way we just can, realize this. Oh, and I wonder if our winners have noticed their names are a different color now. You notice that, Wolf?
Yeah, not until you mentioned it.
Yep.
What should I make from quick game?
Platformer. I just showed you how.
Mobile based.
You can make a platformer mobile based.
I'm trying to think how I'm gonna do it. So I want it to be up and down.
You can do an infinite jumper platformer, where every time you jump on a platform, huh?
I can remake Doodle Jump.
Essentially, but you can add more mechanics to it, or less mechanics, and actually, I don't think you can really add less mechanics than Doodle Jump. It's pretty distilled down. You could also do a shmup. Okay, well, with that, I think I'm gonna end the stream. If you can, please, follow us on itch.io, check us out on YouTube. We are going to be trying to get more and more stuff to do with Friday Night Game Jam up and just increase our content and increase our community. So I will see you all Wednesday when I re-implement all this in a game engine I've never used before. It's going to be all the fun in the world. Have a good one. I also hope to get my lighting fixed. I have one light I can use, but it pretty much blows me out, so right now I'm being lit by my amazing monitors. Peace out.